Nairobi, Kenya's capital. I'm Susie Gitari, and I welcome you, viewer from all over the country and the world at large, to SM Live, a program that brings you to date on stories concerning politics, health, education, economics, sports, arts, and culture. First, let's take a look at the stories making headlines. Uhuru's administration attacked for increased human rights violations. Tycoon Vijay Mallya can be extradited to India, UK judge rules. 2018 was by far the worst year on record for gun violence in schools in America. Uhuru's administration attacked for increased human rights violations. Human rights lobby group on Monday slammed President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration for reversing gains in human rights protection since taking over power in 2013. They revealed that human rights violations by President Uhuru's office has been perpetrated from numerous attacks on media and the civil society groups. Last year, Judge Marara said threats to the media and activists by State House have denied the two groups their lawful law of protecting human rights. He spoke at the University of Nairobi when Kenya joined the world in marking the 70th International Human Rights Day, attended by top government officials and foreign diplomats. Government officials present were the Council of Governors Chairman Joseph Nanok, Nairobi County Governor Mike Sonko, and the Secretary of Justice in the Attorney General's Office, Miriam Njau. Diplomats include head of the European Union delegation Stefano Dujarric, UN Resident Coordinator in Kenya Sirat Chatterjee, and UN High Commissioner of Human Rights Representative Marcela Favretto. Nanok, the Council of Governors Chair, raised concern over the runaway corruption, rotten government, and disregard of rule of law as vices impeding enjoyment of human rights in the country. Tycoon Vijay Mallya can be extradited to India, UK judge rules. Vijay Mallya, the multi-million former owner of Force India Formula One team and self-proclaimed king of good times, can be extradited to India to face allegations of fraud. Mallya, 62, chairman of the Indian brewery giant UB Group, is wanted in his home country in relation to €1 billion of unpaid debts incurred by his now-fallen Kingfisher Airline. Mallya, who was also known as Branson of Bangalore for his business and sport empire, denied any wrongdoing and has been fighting to remain in the UK, where he lives. Mallya is alleged to have knowingly misled largely state-owned banks about the fortunes of failing airline before laundering the cash to fund his Formula One team and other projects. India Enforcement Directorate has been investigating the tycoon's debts linked to the airline, which now amount to €977 million. The Indian Prime Minister has singled out Mallya, accused of fleeing the country, owing over €1 billion to the banks and employees of his failed Kingfisher Airlines, and ripping off India and Indians. 2018 was by far the worst year on record for gun violence in schools in America. A database going back in 1970 shows that there were more incidences of gun violence in 2018 than any other year on record. According to data from the U.S. Navy Postgraduate School, there were 94 school gun violence incidences this year, a record high since 1970, which is as far back as the data goes, and a 59% higher than the previous record of 59 in 2006. The database counts each and every instance a gun is brandished, is fired, or a bullet hits school property for any reason, regardless the number of victims. By this metric, 2018 was the worst year on record. So far, 59 people, including the shooter, were killed in school gun violence. The worst annual death toll was 40 in 1993. The school shootings this year gave way to a new movement of stricter gun laws, with the March of Our Lives taking off after a gunman in Parkland, Florida, in February killed 17 people at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. It is not clear why 2018 appeared to be particularly the bad year on gun violence in school. In the United States of America, data by the U.S. Naval School, each time in every instance a gun is brandished, fired, or a bullet hits school property for any reason, regardless of the number of victims, time of day, or day of week, is on record. And by this metric, 2018 was also the worst year on record on gun violence in schools. These are crimes mostly committed by school associates, being students, while in Kenya, some cases are on the rise. Now, over the years, the second term of school calendars in Kenya has been characterized by chaos, striking, and banning school structures. This year alone, 63 schools have experienced riots and arson targeting schools' dormitories and administration blocks in 2 months. 50 of them have recorded fires. The unrest was hit by 32 counties so far, with the highest number of cases recorded in Siaya being 6, Murang'a being 4, Nairobi 5, Nyeri 4, and Kakamega 4. Most arson cases have occurred in boarding schools, followed by mixed-day boarding, and lastly, day schools. Both of these schools perform well, and those that also struggle in the national exams have been affected. This year's wave of unrest has been blamed on fear of exams, resistance to transfer of head teachers, peer influence, change in education policies, and in disciplines. And that brings us to the big question, why the arson cases reported yearly in school? Has the school administration failed, as well as the government, in curbing them?
The Education Ministry reports that at least 30 secondary schools have been hit by unrest since the beginning of the year. Students are apprehensive that they are unlikely to get their way during exams and therefore are resorting to strikes and school unrest to blackmail school authorities to bow to their demands. The unrests are characterized by burning of buildings, especially dormitories, administration blocks, classrooms, and food stores. Clary Omolo has had 3 task forces: the Kirima Commission in 1994, the Wangari Task Force in 2001, and the Koech Committee in 2008, all set up to find a solution to school unrest in the country. But it has just gone down by a little bit. However, schools have maintained that they cannot implement them due to lack of funds. Therefore, the government resolves to implement harsh policies to curb arson. With much arson committed this year, curbing arson has shown very little improvement of the society, government, and church, and they should hold hands together and find a long-term solution. If stricter laws are implemented, then there will be less arson. Reporting for SM Live, my name is Faith Jalagat.
Thank you, Jalagat. Are there more developments in this case?
Thank you very much, Susie. And yes, there have been a lot of strikes and banning of schools by students. And this is because a lot of students feel like the administration is not listening to them. And if administrations put in better laws for their students, not just strict and harsh rules that can actually be implemented and teaching them more life skills instead of just punishing them, then that is a way we can help solve this menace in our schools in the country here in Kenya. And that is all from me. Now back to you in studio, Susie.
Now there are responses streaming in from Franklin Mutuma on our Twitter handle, and he says arson cases and strikes have been allowed by society and the government. They have portrayed a bad way of dealing with the unrest, checking out riots on streets. There should be laws to handle these crimes and also provide a listening ear for these students. Now, to shed more light on the issue of failure to curb school arsons and the rise of these crimes in schools in Kenya, I'm privileged to be joined by a panel of 3 experts. My first guest being Mr. Dennis Mwenda, a teacher. Welcome, Dennis. Our second being Mr. Eustace Mwambia Wankune, a motivational speaker. Welcome, Mr. Eustace. And the last one being Mr. Sam Washira, a young youth counselor at Mavuno Church. Now to you, Mr. Eustace. School arsons are like an habit. They are passed from one school to another. Why is it so easy, yet most of them being boarders?
Actually, curbing banning of schools is a very collective responsibility. It is not a single person's responsibility, which begins from home to school. You realize, again I would repeat, that the first motivational speaker, the first mentor is the parent. The way you bring your child, what you feed them, the media you feed them, the things you help them access are likely to affect what they behave in schools. You realize that in a school setup, you got very many people who have been brought from different backgrounds. It may not be a certain parent responsibility to know or to mitigate another parent's responsibility because they are raised from different backgrounds. But it is possible for you to nurture your kid in a manner that even when they find something bad happening, they would join hands. Rather, they will choose to do right. Parents, it's the high time you train, you coach, you teach your children on standing on the right, even when everybody else is in a wrong. It is your responsibility. Again, now, there is this communication. It has been known and noticed that when a parent has taken their kid to high school, they leave them to teachers and leave them there. In fact, they call it an offloaded burden. And you forget that that is your kid, whether they are in school or at home. So you need to do due diligence. Talk to the teachers while they are in school. Let them tell you how their kids are faring, how their behavior is. Keep communicating with the teachers so that you know how they are behaving. And again, it has been seen again that a negligence by parents to tell the teachers how their children are. You know that your kid is a thief, and you let them go to high school. You never tell the teacher that this kid can steal something. They feel they have affinity for other people's property. You do not tell them. And then this kid continues stealing in school. What do you expect the teacher to do? Chase them away. But what if you told the teacher that my kid can steal? The teacher will know maybe another way, because there is always a way on how to deal with this, so that the teacher would know how to handle your kid. So because you're the first mentor, you need to continue mentoring your kid even at their absence. Let the pastor know the kind of a kid you have. The teacher, these are the people who are connecting with your kid very directly, and they are all mentors, and should be known the kind of a kid you have. Maybe they have weaknesses, they have strength. Let the teacher also know that my kid has this strength and they can exhibit it. If you let them, they can sing, they can do this. Let that positive energy continue to the teacher so that the teacher can nurture it.
Again to you, Mr. Eustace, how can these school absence be curbed?
I believe in the primary school sector that the pupils are really monitored. They are monitored individually. So when it comes to high school, when they go to high school, the teachers do not monitor them individually. So they start getting into groups, the cocoons, the gangs that show the peer pressure. Definitely they'll end up doing so many things that the teachers don't know because they don't monitor them individually. In primary school, the parent is really involved in every pupil's decision. So, but in secondary school, the parents only gets the pupil when they are sent home. The teachers there don't follow up with the parents so easily as in primary school. So the people end up not being monitored, not being counseled by the parents and also the teachers. And so at the end of it all, they end up being in gangs, burning schools. I think that is the main reason. You cannot always blame also the teacher, the parent, and also the people individually. But the parent is the one who has the key point to monitor the child always, and also how the parents behave when the pupil is around at home. They'll definitely do what the parents do, and they'll definitely do what the parents tell them, because the parents to pupils' parents are God, and the teacher is the second God.
And to wrap up our conversation, now to you, Mr. Sam. How should the government contribute to curb these cases?
And on the government case, I think the government has been slow on the rights of the kids, and basically how the environment the kids are exposed to and everything. The government's supposed to do more, like providing security for those kids, for them to feel like they're heard and everything. And that's why the arson cases are on the rise, because when they do that, that's when they're hard, because it's on all over the media and the uproar and everything. So you'd be like, the government's supposed to do something about them. It's supposed to just go back to them and be like, what's the case? As in, even just having the small pep talks with them, as in just trying to hear the little things. They might seem stupid, but these people are wise. These people have content. They have deep issues. So the government's just supposed, and the parents and the society at large, they're just supposed to go to them and give a hearing ear to them.
The last one to Mr. Sam. How will the school and the government deal with these young students who are committing crimes?
And since the arson case is a crime from the beginning, like from the start, so the government and the society at large, they usually think of taking them to the juvenile and such. But then I don't think it's the best idea, because yes, taking them to the juvenile, is it helping at all? Not really. But then on the other hand, I think they should just be taken, okay, they can be taken for like rehabilitation in a way, but then they just give them the hearing ear, as I've said from the word go, and then try and see where the problems originated from. Because sometimes the problem can be this so little, but then we're taking them to a juvenile center, which sometimes spoils their brains, as in their dreams are shattered from the word go. But then if you give them the hearing ear, you can try and correct them and make them have the taste of the society and feel like they're embraced once again. Yeah.
Thank you very much, our panel of specialists. Let's sample some of your comments from our Facebook page. Sandra Riziki says, "This is completely failed. Every year, children are at risk of one going rogue and burning the school. Let's get parents, teachers and leaders to listen to these kids, and maybe a good year is what they need." My opinion on this, it is sad and devastating for the society to experience new arson cases in high schools, which are a threat to young lives as well as destruction of property. It is terrifying to think that young children committing arsons are just starting their lives as criminals. The government and school administration has completely failed to deal with arsons every year from high school students, with it becoming an habit that is started and spreads out to other schools. The government needs to find a solution about such cases, as well as the school administration, in order to secure lives and property and sustain respect for education. That brings us to the end of the program today. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Susie Gitari. SM Live continues next week, same time, same place. Until then, do have yourself blessed times.